Hi guys, this is Daz from remoteview.com. I just want to share with you a quick video. It's a video that was done a couple of years ago for Courtney Brown and the Farsight Institute. It was a blind remote viewing target which turned out to be looking at the target area 51. We came up with some great results and Courtney did a fantastic video on this. But what I'm going to do over the next coming few weeks is I'm going to share some of my older remote viewing sessions and their raw data with you on this because it's not been shared before. So I'll be sharing the paper sessions and I'll also be sharing the raw video from the whiteboard session as well. As I said, this is a blind remote viewing target for Area 51, but bear in mind there's lots of information out there about Area 51. You know, it's been out in the news and the press since the late 80s, since Bob Lazar made it famous when he took people out there and they videoed test craft flying above the area there, allegedly UFOs. It's had a lot of rumors, a lot of theories based around this, so we don't really know what's going on. We know it actually exists. The American government admit it exists now, but we really do not know what's going on there other than what the whistleblower said. So bear all that in mind and have a look at the remote viewing data and the raw files. The videos will play now.
Hi there, my name's Daz, and today I'm going to be doing target 16 for the Farsight Institute. Okay, so let's get to it straight away and see what we get here. Okay, so target 16. Okay, so we have land, we have structure, probably more than one. We have a downwards movement, so this extends underground and downwards. The land feels dry, dusty, craggy, wide, expansive. I can see a long vista, and this feels remote. This is a remote location. Yeah, remote, dry, dusty, harsh, desert-like. So that could be an AOL there because I'm trying to name it. Feels like a desert-like location, a remote location, and in this remote location there's at least one, maybe more, very long, very linear, very square angular structures. There's one in particular I feel focused upon. There's more than one, but there's one in particular which is very long, very angular. It's a very big structure, but very plain as well at the same time. So it's made up of plain lines and very boxy. I don't see any ornateness about it. There's no architectural features or anything like that. It's just like a big, long, square box. And this is kind of hangar-like. And there's... and it appears, if I was looking at the structures as well, and you know, here's the structures in the distance here, a long vista. There's probably more than one. But it also appears like I can see linear roads, or maybe there's an intersection point as well with some of these. So what comes off here and goes off here or something. It looks like there's road type, runway type structures within the vicinity here as well. So it very much feels like I have to say it very much feels like an airbase. Very much feels like large man-made structures in a remote location, partly disguised and hidden. So man-made structures in a dry, dusty, craggy, remote location, very boxy structures, at least one very large, long, linear structure, very much like a hangar. It's huge. There are smaller ones around it, and it does feel like I see these very linear, wide, angular road stroke runway type structures on the surface as well, in the same location. Now these structures, they're above ground, they're on the ground, but they also feel embedded in the ground as well. It feels like there's a very strong downwards motion here. So let's explore that, see what we get. Yeah, very remote, very dry, very quiet. I can hear the wind, not much else. It feels hidden in disguise as well. It feels like it's purposely in the location it's in, purposely remote, in a dry place where not a lot of life are going to go, out of the way kind of thing. So let's go again. So it's target 16, and it drops down. So it feels like if this were a land interface here, it feels like I have structures above ground that extend underground. And it feels like a central core to this. Very deep underground. I mean, very, very deep. Feels very oppressive here. And this feels like there are areas carved, hewn, drilled areas that extend off a central hub. I'm not drawing it very well here. At least 10 plus areas that are underground. I can feel the weight above me. The far more down you go, the more weight you feel, the more oppressive it feels. And yeah, as a human being, we can sense the weight for some reason. I'm not sure I'm drawing this right. If I was looking at this from above, it feels very much like it spirals down. So we have the central core here, and this feels like it carries power, maintenance, all kinds of, I see lots of pipe work, yeah, all kinds of strange stuff. But off of the core here, it seems like we have these areas that extend out from the core, but you don't see them. They're kind of set out like a DNA strand or something. They all come out at different angles. I'm not drawing this very well. It's very hard to describe. So you have a central core that extends downwards. And then we have these areas that come off a central core, but they're not stacked on top of each other. So if one's here, then the other one's twisted around a bit here. Then the next one, as you drop down, will be over this area. And then the next one, as you drop down, will be, twisted round. I don't know why that is. It's almost like each one's on its own level and hasn't got one opposite it or something. Anyway, yeah, it's like spindles. If you look at it from from above, it looks like spindles with sectioned areas that drop downwards. This is very heavy, very deep, hard constructed. I can feel the material here. It's very rocky, very hard, dense stone. But within these structured areas, it doesn't all feel man-made. It feels like a mix of man-made and mix of natural. What it feels like is an underground area that has been drilled and mined out of something that already existed. It feels like these were quite possibly natural, or still are to some degree, natural caves or a natural mine or something like that that's been extended and built upon and built in and extended outwards. So this feels like a series of structures. Here's the land. Long, linear, dark, craggy. I mean, there's a bit of an undulation to the land. And I see hills and stuff in the distance. So, you know, in the distance you'd have hills. But within this environment, it feels like there's these blocky structures, and especially a big one here. And then there are smaller ones as well. So it's almost like a little village type. No, not village isn't the right word. I mean, you know, if I wanted to do anything, I'd do an FOB, something like a forward operating base or something. This does feel military. It has a kind of twinge of military to it. So this feels like, yes, structures in a remote location, nothing for miles around, very secure, very disguised. It's almost like the colour of the structures are purposely designed to blend into the environment. They're made out of the same materials, the same colour and everything. And from at least one of these structures, it feels like the structures are embedded in the land, so it extends downwards. Very deep. I mean, very, very deep. 10 levels at least. And I'll just draw like this, you know. So there are these areas that drop down in the structure. And these areas have. This is staff. This has people in it. There's life here. There's hundreds of life. They're living separate roles, and they're working. And there's four main classes. Feels like security. Security is key. There feels like a military type presence, soldier type, aggressive type presence. There feels like there's a scientific presence, and then there feels something like admin or something, and then there's an engineering type as well here. That's the main roles I feel that are dominant here. Very male, 90% plus male. They've got goals. And it feels compartmentalised. What one set of people are doing doesn't feed down into what the others are doing. They feel very separate. They're separated. They have commonalities in what they do, but the majority of what they do is separated. So okay, you extend down here. Here is security. I mean, security seems very harsh here. Anyone checking in or coming in, visitors, they have to go through very many levels of security, and it seems very electronic. With things like scans, metal detectors, biometric scanners. But this feels like it's on more than one level. Something to do with eyes, fingerprints maybe, and something else. Multiple levels of biometric scanning. So security is taken very seriously here. It's a very serious. So I'm going to have to do an AOL of Area 51. I can't spell it. Area 51 type facility. It seems very serious security. That's at the top core here. And then there seems to be an area where you move downwards, and you can move downwards through some kind of lift system. And this lift seems massive. I'm used to being in lifts where you hold 5, 10 people at most. But this lift seems, hangar sized or room sized. You could quite easily get a vehicle in this lift. And the lift itself seems very square, very linear, very boxy, very there's no beauty to this. It's just utilitarian, just a very long, wide lift, which could carry, 100 plus people in it. a room-sized lift, massive. And this can, for transport and all kinds of stuff. And then we move down to the next level, and this feels like it's admin and living, I'm gonna say. Storage. Seems like a rest area, recreation area. I feel like there are people working out, doing sports, keeping fit, resting as best they can, eating, drinking, toilets, facilities, showers, all that kind of stuff. This feels like an admin living area near the surface. Yeah, that's what that feels like. And then you drop down a level. And there are other levels. There's a biology, and I don't know if this is in order. There's a biology level. And here it feels like there's research being done. See people in white coats, lots of equipment. I can't describe the equipment. Very clean, very clinical. Feels like they're looking into biology here. Genetics, mutations, DNA, structures, all that kind of stuff. And then there's another level which I'm going to class as virology. And it feels like they're looking at a cross-section of biology, but they're looking at smaller stuff. Looking at viruses, spread of viruses, all kinds of strange stuff there. This feels a lot more enclosed. Now, there are some communication between these two areas, but I also feel that they're separated as well. This feels very compartmentalized. Again, security at all these levels is very top notch. Biology, and then I feel that there's a weaponry level. Now, as I said, all these are connected, so I feel at some level that viruses are used as some kind of weaponry as well, but I feel that they're working on other weapons as well. Something about a cross beam, a massive, thick, energetic beam type device. Other stuff as well. Each of these areas are working on loads of different. It feels like they're experimenting and researching. It feels like a research facility. And at the moment, it's biology, virology, weaponry. All these kind of intermingle in some level, but they're not. They're all separate areas at the same time. And then there's a movement area, and this feels devices, lead. I'm gonna say craft, aerial craft. I can't spell aerial. I'll do it like that for now. Aerial craft. So there's a movement level. Feels like they're working on physical, moving vehicles. That's the word, vehicles. Now this feels like slightly more engineering. There's a scientific element to this, but there's also an engineering as well. Very strong. Lots of men, very, very male here. Very experimental. It feels like as well, and this feels like projects that are working on their own. So they're developing and they're working out theories. So they're working on new projects. They're expanding on current knowledge, but also for each of these areas, there feels like there's an area of where they're also back engineering. Now this leads to something else. This leads to other groups of men. Now these are separate, but they're connected. I'm going to put it under the title of others here, under the people list. Now these feel like they're groups of men, and they retrieve. They retrieve, and they bring in artifacts and objects that they get, steal, acquire from all over the globe. They bring these objects in. The people on the separate levels, depending on the objects that they bring, whatever it is, they then look at these objects, find out how they work, take them apart, reconstruct them again, and this feels like a science military research facility where they develop tech, back engineer tech, but it's not just technology. It's technology also based around biology, virology, weaponry, movement, all kinds of subject matters. Very complex. For example, one of the retrievals, I can feel one of the retrievals, and it feels or looks like a large football. A large metallic sphere-shaped football, and this is stored or transported in a box type structure. So it looks a bit like we have a box structure, and within it we have a very large metallic shaped football with This feels really dense, feels grey, silvery, metallic, very dense, very heavy. Feels like there's a glow to it. So we have this object, sphere-shaped object with lines on it, very slightly recessed lines, has a glow to it. There's an energy field. It's contained. Is it a machine? That's a question I can't answer. It feels like machine-like. Also, I can say it's machine-like, but also there's something else to this. There's an energy to this. There's a field around this, and it feels like it reaches out. It extends out. This feels like it has an AI, an artificial intelligence. Sentient. It's knowledgeable. It's questioning. And I feel that this device, this box, contains it. It's some kind of security type thing. And this feels like it's like retrieved, brought, transported by six men, at least 6 men, military trained. But also there's a scientific level to them. And this feels like it was, I want to say stolen, retrieved or stolen from another country, another location, and brought to this area where it now resides in one of the levels. So that's one of the activities that goes on in a place like this. Let's have a look at let's go into more detail on the moving things. The movement. the engineered movement part. So 16, we have our land, we have our structure, we're coming down. We have this area. Oh. Okay. But we also have, as well as the main core, central core, we also have, so that's the core, these little substructures, and these feel like tubes. And I'm going to put silo-like and objects. Move up and down for these. Okay, so we have this area here. And there's loads of objects there, at least 6. And these feel like they're, I'm going to put objects, stroke craft, stroke vehicles. Because they're moving or they want to move. They're not all moving. For example, I feel that there's at least 2 or 3 that are in, they're showing skeletal parts. There's bits missing, they're broken, being worked on. There's some that are working fine, and some that aren't. Bear with me a second. Max, stop it. The joys of working from home. Sorry for that intrusion, postman. Always comes when you don't want him. Some of the joys of remote viewing from home. Okay, so let's get back to this. At least one of the craft feels very, there's got a central part to it. Feels darker or something, then it rises and it comes below like this. Yeah, not doing it very well. Feels angular to me. Feels metallic, grey, organised, sleek. Feels like it levitates. It's not touching a surface. It's off the surface. It has a field around it. And it feels like there's a glow. There's a glow from what feels like the skin itself from inside the craft. But it feels very, feels like there's very linear, almost like stealth-like skin, you know, like on a stealth fighter kind of to one of this craft. Only one of them though. As I said, there's more than one. One or two of them feel more curved in design, but yeah, there's one that feels very kind of angular in design, and then there are others. They're just broken. Something's broken on top. Underneath feels right, but something's broken. There are a couple of broken ones. Maybe even something like very angular. I don't know. There's all different shapes. So there feels like vehicles, because they move, in various states of repair, disassembly, or being worked upon, in pods or separated in spaces, but at least 2 or 3 of these move, and one of the ones that does move, and it feels like this angular type, silvery glowing one, can move up and out through some kind of vertical lift or system. Maybe it goes out through the tube itself, or maybe it gets lifted up, I don't know. This feels like a very deep down, very secure, very compartmentalized. Some of all this research has repercussions and links into some of the other areas in this general underground, overground facility. but generally each area has its own area that it works upon, and it's kept within that kind of zone. And this all feels, as I said, very security conscious here. Lots of security, very high tech. Built in a remote location, well underground. Some of it feels artificial, but then some of the surfaces and areas feel like they were caverns or caves or something to begin with. So it feels like initially, many years ago, this was some kind of natural cave system that's been developed into some kind of underground facility. And there's a storage here as well. One of the levels is like a big library. Let's see if I can get more on that. Everything's stored there actually. Like a repository is a good word. Yes, they got a repository, a library. And it's storing physical artifacts and data. So there's a huge big library type thing. They have their own servers, computer servers, storage. There are vacuum stored bits and pieces in drawers and weird kind of cabinets that have lights that when you open the drawers, lights come on, vacuum kind of sealed. I don't know why. They also have skin and biology samples stored. And I have a sense that they're looking at some kind of, I can't spell it, some kind of exobiology here as well. It has that feel about it. It feels like there's some biological, physical samples that are also being, I don't know if you can do this, back engineer. Can you back engineer DNA, genes, physical kind of skin cells? It feels like they're being taken apart, looked at, and put back together again as well. And I don't know where these came from. Maybe it's something to do with the guys that retrieve and steal, the military type guys. So it feels like some kind of exobiology is going on here. Is there anything I've missed? I'm not sure. So in summary then, we have a landed location which is remote, dry, dusty, very desert-like. Big vistas, no one around, very secure, very disguised. And within this we have at least one large structure, probably more than that though, but we have other substructures as well. Then there's an extension of the structures underground, which radiate off a central core, and we're talking deep underground, very deep. I mean, this feels like it's taken years to build. And then under here we have these sub areas. And I'm just going to draw them like linear like this, although they're not linear like this. It's just easier for me to draw. We have these sub areas here. They extend out from a central core underground. Each one or each level has its own job, its own role. Parts it links into what all the others are doing, but generally they're all compartmentalized. The majority of what they do is not known by everyone else, and there is some kind of other system, and there's kind of like escape hatches and all kinds of strange stuff that lead off in different areas and stuff. So it feels like a massive underground facility in a remote location. It feels very scientific, very engineer based, very security conscious. You know, it's very hard to get past this level here, security wise, unless you are on the list, on the know. It feels very technology based security, very biometric. People are shipped in. They come in almost through some kind of like airport hangar type arrangement where they're scanned, they're checked, they then get shipped off their other areas, maybe through this big, huge lift, room-shaped lift or something that extends down. I feel there are smaller ones as well. People live here, so they can stay here for a period of time. They're living facilities, washing facilities, recreation facilities, all close-ish to the surface. Then the lower down you go, the more complex, the more secret it all becomes. Different levels with different research going on. As I said, there's the weaponry. I can't spell. There's biology, virology. I'm going to put exobiology in here as well because it feels like that's what they're doing. There's movement-based research. There's energy. I can feel that they're looking into all different types of energy. Something about compressed energy. Energy compressed into small spaces, very small spaces, but huge amounts of energy. There's security. They all interlink, but they don't interlink at the same point. Only a few very small top tier of people know how these interlink, get reports from everything, put together a larger picture. Everyone else is kept out of the picture. All they know is their separate area only, and that's only a very small sliver of what they get to see. So they don't get to see what their partners are exactly doing, they just know what they're doing. Only a few people get to see larger aspects of the general picture. So it feels like, some kind of research, science, military type facility in a remote location. It has outside help. These feel like they're retrieval teams, very special forces in nature. It feels like very small teams of special forces type people that go out when they're tasked to retrieve still objects and artifacts. They're brought back to this facility. They're then worked on, taken apart, repaired in some cases, back engineered, expanded upon. This feels like an effort to expand upon knowledge, science and technology. All done secretly, covertly, because this feels disguised. The whole thing it feels disguised. And it feels like if I wanted to look into this, I feel like there's loads of double-barreled, and I know this from my prior research, double-barreled code names for what's going on here. Lots and lots of code names in storage. And, as I said, there's a library area as well. There's a storage area, which is for physical, digital, and biological artifacts. Huge, big, vast room or rooms. Some of it vacuum sealed, some of it out on display, some of it accessible by computer. Stored, not filing cabinets because they just don't look like filing cabinets. It looks more IKEA-ish, drawers on runners that soften and lights come on, all kinds of strange stuff there. So a big storage library facility here as well, with lots of information stored on what they're doing. Big effort, hundreds of people, multi-leveled, covert, secret, in a remote location, not in my country, foreign to me, away from me. It's warm or hot, dusty, remote. Very, if I had to guess, I'd say Area 51 / S4 or Pine Gap as an AOL. It has that feeling about it. Purposely hidden research, science, military facility working on all different kinds of aspects. I could go more in detail into any of these, like I have done on paper, but time doesn't allow for that really. I think that's pretty much it for an overview. As I said, they're working on craft, weaponry. They have at least one sentient artificial life form that's been retrieved, which is pretty much ball shaped but larger, metallic, retrieved from another country maybe. It feels like it. Secretly shipped in some kind of like container or containment, almost like it's held hostage kind of thing, because it feels like this is some kind of living machine. They have craft that are working, some that aren't working, some in states of repair or being taken apart. Yeah, above ground feels like there's at least one large hangar type structure, probably more. There are supporting structures. Feels like there's a road system or runway system above ground, so there'd be, if this were an above view, there'd be huge, big. It feels like there's an intersection of runways or something. At least 2 or 3 runways areas above ground. And I think that's it on this target. So, quick summary again. Remote location, housing some kind of overground, underground, covert, camouflaged, secret, highly secure facility, which is embedded in the ground, built out of an existing cave system which has been extended, multi-leveled, at least 10 levels underground, very complex, very deep, very technical, very secure, research, back engineering, science, stroke military facility. So that's it. So I hope you enjoy this, and take care, and I'll speak to you soon.